Good morning. So this weekend we are celebrating Bethany Camp Sunday, and like they said, there's a love offering in the back. That money will be going towards our kids in our church, sponsoring them to be able to attend Bethany Camp. So we're going to give you some history and information about Bethany Camp, and then share some stories from members here that have gone to camp and what it means to them. So this is a place that's very special to my heart. I've heard bits and pieces about it over the last few years here in church, and so have you, as when the Emkes come back, they share information and we talk to each other about it. But I wanted to share the history behind it, as they just celebrated their 70 years of reaching out to families and sharing the Lord's message with people and bringing people to God. First, I'd like to explain a little bit about what Bethany Camp is. Bethany Camp was founded in 1952 on Chautauqua Lake waterfront, located in western New York. You'll see a picture on the third slide. Sorry, we're getting our... So that was the original Bethany Camp on Chautauqua Lake. The next one shows the original location of the camp sat on 10 acres of shoreline. Many lives were changed through the ministry that took place there for nearly 25 years. In 1970s, it became apparent that the property and facilities were not going to be sufficient for the long run. They couldn't meet the needs of as many people. So in 1976, they held the last year of Bethany Camp on Chautauqua Lake property. From 1975 to 1977, several buildings started to be constructed, including the Applewood Lodge and the Director's Home, and what it now exists as Bethany Camp in Sinclairville. On July 23, 1977, the dedication of these buildings took place, and the operation of Bethany Camp began that summer, and it's now placed in Sinclairville. The next few pictures are going to be the original buildings that started going up in 1970s. They have been blessed by God to lead them in a direction where they could make many upgrades, improvements to their facilities throughout the years. In 1980, Spruce Lane was constructed and the current swimming pond was dug to replace the lakefront. So that's where the pond originally was. They just dug a big hole and they put the slide in. In the next picture, you're going to see one of the original, that was one of the first people that got to go down the slide. As you can see, it was just that black. They've obviously upgraded it since now. Next. Oh, go back one, it's okay. In addition to the upgrades, they put in a craft shop, shack shop, which was built in the old cabins, they called them, because they were camp cabins, tent cabins, whatever. I can't say the word. They were retired in the 1990s. Walnut Grove was constructed, an old bathhouse was turned into a speaker's cabin, and then it was updated again into what is now Hemlock Hill. 40 acres of land were purchased and donated to the camp during that time. All of the upgrades in the buildings have allowed the camp to reach thousands of guests every year for all different types of retreats, meetings, camps, and just any way that they can reach out in doing God's work. So the next couple pictures are going to be the upgrades that they did. And so that's the new chapel in the basement of the lodge. That's the lodge area and the office buildings. The mess hall. And then that's the new house and speaker's cabin, I believe. I have to move up here, the glare. That is a workshop that they were able to build. And that's inside the workshop. They do all their maintenance there, and they have their kids and staff help with grounds and upkeeping. They do everything a lot by volunteer work, including building their cabins, and they reuse everything. and that's one of the staff apartments and houses that they have on property. And that is Hemlock Hill, which was changed from the original, and the girls' staff can stay in part of it, and then speakers stay in the other part, and they use it for retreats, and then there's meeting underneath. And that's one of the chapel rooms. All right, I'm gonna read it. In recent years, many programming actions have been added and major remodeling and replacements of all lodge buildings have taken place. Before the summer of 2022, they had built and remodeled all the cabins and campers' houses. Their currently buildings can house up to 256 people at a time. They have 2 apartments on the grounds that house internships and gap year students, which they bring in and help them learn God's love and how to work with people and help them work on themselves. These students are there to work and learn about God, study His Word, and share with others. They have 5 staff houses that they have been remodeled or built in the last 11 years, which houses the families and staff members that put so much of themselves into the camp and help it grow to be successful. Throughout the years, much has changed throughout the ministry at Bethany Camp. Properties, facilities, attractions, and people have come and gone. But one thing that never changed is the steadfastness to serve the Lord. They currently seek to have 4 full-time staff positions, usually several part-time spouses, full-time volunteers, and over 40 paid and volunteer summer positions filled by students of high school and college students. Bethany Camp as a whole strives to complete its mission to create an environment for spiritual growth and change. In everything they do, they trust that God will use them in this incredible place that He's been given them for many years to come. I have learned that those at Bethany Camp are often not there because it's a job. They're there because they're doing God's work. They put in countless hours, not just for maintaining the property, but finding speakers to teach youth families in the summer, and they themselves put in countless hours working with, teaching, sharing, and helping their summer staff study the Word of God. I for sure know that during summer, they host daily Bible studies with their summer staff. Their summer counselors are also holding meetings with their kids that are under them, where they read, talk, and study the Bible. These groups also prepare lessons, skits, and so many other things for the campers, in addition to their own studies, to help them learn and grow. Because they put so much of themselves into camp, I'd like to talk to you about some of the people that run it, that give so much into the camp. This is Greg and Stephanie Frank. They're the executive director and food service director at the camp. Greg began his ministry at Bethany Camp in 2004. He has over 25 years of experience in camp ministry. Greg graduated with a degree in physical education from Cedarville University and has a wide range of life experience. He spent some time as a camp director, a Christian school teacher, a UPS shift manager, and overseeing an onion shipping operation. At Bethany, he oversees the day-to-day operations of the camp. He gives guidance for future projects and implements the vision for the camp. He is a certified lifeguard instructor and has a large amount of knowledge in the areas of construction and food service. Greg enjoys spending time with his wife Stephanie and their 7 children. He likes golfing and cheering for his beloved Ohio State Buckeyes. I can only speak about the summertime when I'm there, because that's the only time I've attended. But I know that when you're walking around camp, you can see Greg everywhere, wearing many different hats. You'll see him working with staff, leading their group time, talking with campers, leading chapel time, and so many other things. Greg is very busy, but one thing I've learned is that his door is always open to go and ask questions. One year, he led a study during morning chapel on Job. He read it and talked about it with us, and we had a discussion. And there were parts I just had to ask questions about, because he really was opening up my mind and how dedicated he was. Greg was more than willing to answer them. This is the same with the staff. I have many friends and now even family members that have worked at camp over the summer, and they will tell you, you can have many conversations with Greg that can really make you look at yourself and the world in a different way. He helps open discussions to push you closer to the Lord. He respects his staff's opinion, and he is always trying to find ways to better the camp in a way that portrays God's vision and his love for others. He's involved in the community on top of all that he does at camp, such as coaching basketball, and he puts himself into it wholly. Stephanie is his wife. She's in charge of the food service. Whether it be cooking, cleaning, planning events, making t-shirts, or shopping for camp, Stephanie is a valuable part of their staff and probably a huge reason Greg is able to do so much of what he does. She's willing and happy to jump in and bless others. She works so well with her kitchen staff and always goes above and beyond to connect with them and make the kitchen run smoothly and also have fun. Stephanie is very busy during the summers with all the people at camp, so she doesn't get away too often, but she's an amazing person and is a blessing when you get to steal a few minutes of her time. The next people we're going to talk about are Tim and Ashley Stairs. They're another couple that works and lives at Bethany Camp. As facility director, Tim is in charge of the grounds crew and maintenance, and just about anything you can think of. He works with volunteers and staff to keep the camp going smoothly. Especially with the projects going on, he works very closely with Greg and many others to do upgrades and maintain the cabins. During the summer, Tim is constantly building relationships with the staff and teaching them so much about construction and using their hands. Andrea had calluses on her hands this summer from working with him, just saying. Tim grew up as a pastor's kid and a missionary kid. He had the privilege of spending time in South Africa during high school, which had a deep impact on his outlook of life. Ashley grew up in Southwest Michigan, which is where she met Tim in college. They got married in 2011. God has blessed them with 4 awesome kids, Alistair, Mary Jane, Isaiah, and Aubriella. Tim has been working construction and ministry since 2006. The Stairs joined the team at Bethany Camp in 2018. Tim has a really deep passion for discipleship and seeing ministry grow and sharing the gospel. Their work in life, he includes it in all of it. It is awesome to see how God uses a week at camp to change campers' lives. And what's even more awesome is seeing how God uses the summer to grow the hearts and minds of the staff that they get to work with. God changes lives at camp, and they said that it's a privilege for them to be a part of it. The next couple we're going to talk about is Caitlin and Tristan Fry. Tristan is the assistant program director, and Caitlin is his wife, and she's done many different things and gets pulled into many different situations to help. Last summer, she filled in for summer nurse position for a period of time, but she really just jumps in wherever needed as she has a full-time position at Westfield School as their nurse. Tristan and Caitlin both grew up in Western New York and have been part of Bethany Camp for many years as both campers and staff. They met at Bethany Camp while serving together as counselors, and they were married in 2021. Tristan graduated Jamestown Community College with a degree in business administration, and Caitlin graduated from Damon College, where she earned her license as a registered nurse. She currently serves at Westfield School, and Tristan serves as the assistant program director, where they focus on programming for the summer camp and off-season retreats, along with many of the marketing tasks. Once you go to Bethany Camp, it's like you'll never leave. The next few people are Wally and Donna, who are Greg's parents, and they are full-time volunteers. I only mentioned a few people that are their full-time staff here, but it gives you a glimpse into who makes the camp run, which also is a huge part of the message that Bethany Camp gives. Because if they didn't have that foundation in the Lord sharing it with us, the camp wouldn't be as successful as it is. The camp recently welcomed new people, Kayla and Zach Gifford, onto their team to work in the office with programming. They would not be able to do what they do without help from people like temporary workers and leaders, including Anisha, Josh, Hayden, and all the others that work there as higher-ups. The camp has also been blessed with many teen support staff, including some of our own teens like Andrea, who has given 2 summers to work there, and many other teens and college-level kids from all over the place that travel some for many hours just to go there, work, learn about the Lord, and serve the Lord through ministering to the youth and attending camp. Now that you know a little bit about the camp's history and the people involved, for the most part includes the camp and what the ministry is, I briefly mentioned its mission. The mission of the camp is creating an environment for spiritual growth and change. They follow 4 core values that you'll see on the screen. Servant leadership, people-loving people, it's God's camp, and have fun. Servant leadership is something I wasn't very strong knowledge in, but I asked some questions and I found that it begins with the natural feeling that one wants to serve the Lord and to serve first. It's a conscious choice that brings one to aspire to lead. The person sharply different from one who is a leader first. Perhaps because of the need to have a power drive or to acquire material positions if you want to be a leader. Instead, servant leadership focuses on the growth and well-being of people in the community to which they belong, while traditional leadership involves an accumulation and exercise of power. Servant leadership shares power, puts the needs of others first, and helps people develop and perform as highly as possible. Even though I gave the people I introduced titles as directors, if you ask any one of them who is in charge of the camp, they will tell you it's God's camp. They're doing God's work. Their main focus is to serve Him and lead others closer to Him. Their next one was people-loving people. They strive to create an environment that no matter who you are, what you're going through, or what you've been through, you can come there and be loved. They stand by God's word and teaching, but they also will not turn you away because of the things you have experienced. When you come to camp during summer and look around at youth camp and senior high camp, you will not find all perfect Christian kids that have been raised to read the Bible, do their devotions every day, and pray. There are definitely some kids in the group that were raised this way, and they attend, but you'll also find kids that were not raised knowing God or Jesus at all, or knowing that Jesus gave His life for them. There are kids that have been exposed to the world and earthly things even more than you and I have. Things maybe even that other adults haven't seen in their lifetime. But you know what? When looking at these group of kids, they're all there. They're all safe. They're all being reached out to and taught. They have things for both extreme kids. When you go downstairs in the basement of the lodge into the chapel area, there are boards with thousands of names of kids that have dedicated themselves to the Lord over the summer because of the work Bethany Camp has done. Bethany's camp's mission, the drive behind everything they do, is to create a safe environment that allows, encourages, and cultivates spiritual growth and change. When you attend Bethany Camp, it's their goal to provide you with enjoyment, laughter, unique experiences with God, His Word, His people, and His creation. They believe that by taking care of the campers' physical, emotional, and social needs, they will experience freedom from the distractions of everyday life that will allow them to hear from God in a powerful and life-changing way. One thing about Bethany Camp is that there's no signal almost anywhere. It allows the kids and families during family camp to truly unplug from the world and get out of and away from all the earthly things that nowadays tend to pull us from God. And it puts people attending in a world where they can put their full focus on God and recharge in His Word. The staff at Bethany Camp are there to serve God, and by serving the people who come to the camp. They have said that it's a true blessing for them to be able to witness people's lives being changed for eternity with the time that they've spent on them. At Bethany Camp, they offer many different types of sessions to attend and recharge your spiritual battery. I've talked about summer a lot during this time because summer at Bethany Camp are completely unforgettable. They're filled with amazing programs, activities, delicious food, and Christ-centered chapels. These chapels are what help them provide an experience everyone will enjoy and learn from. As a staff, they faithfully serve and meet the needs of their campers so that when they leave Bethany Camp, they leave knowing their campers just had the most memorable week of their summer. They offer many different outreach programs throughout the summer. Some specialize in teen activities, youth activities, and family camps. Senior High Week is focused on teens in grades 9 through 12. As a camp, they know this is a pivotal time in a child's life, so they strive to deeply challenge them in their faith. Through other chapel services, amazing worship, and intentional small group time within their cabins and programs is always an exciting and ever-changing, encouraging fellowship of their spiritual growth among their campers. During chapel, they teach from the Bible. They let the teens ask questions and give biblical-based answers to those questions. They inspire teens to search deeper into their faith and find what God wants them doing, not what the world says is okay. 2 other weeks are called Discoverers and Transformers Week. They are for the younger grades of students starting in 3rd grade. During these weeks, their goal is to offer purposeful programs that coincide with the chapels in a way that challenges students to reflect on the core values of being a follower of Christ, and to encourage them to share their faith when they leave the camp. These youth camps are a great place for a child to make new friends, enjoy exciting games and activities, and strengthen their walk with Christ in an unforgettable week at Bethany Camp. Then my favorite, because I'm too old for the other ones, is family camp. They host 3 family camps every summer where they have different activities and families can come together to bond. They offer time when parents can get away from their children to join their own levels of chapel twice a day, while their children go to chapel for their own ages and learn from their counselors different lessons from the Bible and about life. They offer families opportunities to meet other families, form bonds with people all over the place, and have similar worldviews. They want to follow God's way, not an earthly way. These weeks are just a fresh way to unplug from everything else going on in their busy life and give time to God that He truly deserves from us. Just this summer camp 2022, it had the largest summer camp record in the history of Bethany Camp. They had about 480 kids attend one of the youth camps in a week, and just under 500 family campers throughout the 3 sessions. They were also blessed to know over 30 kids made the spiritual decision to follow Jesus Christ just this summer. When they do family camp, I just learned, so it's not in here, I'm going off script for a second, they do not make funds from it. Nothing from family camps go towards remodeling and stuff like that. They break even. That is purely something they do as a camp just for families and to help them grow. So that is something I thought was amazing because usually the youth camps will help fund other remodeling and stuff, but family camp they're lucky if they break even. So that is a huge blessing. Summer, even though it's one of the busiest times of the year, it's not only a time that they host guests throughout the year, they also offer retreats for crafters, men, fall retreats, and winter family retreats where they make the time specifically catered to those groups that can come together and grow in the Lord's Word and create bonds with people. They can reach out all year long and help each other through storms and celebrate good things in life. Now, before we hear from some of our church members how it's impacted their lives, I'm going to welcome the kids to come up and sing some of their worship songs that they sing in their chapel. So, kids.
what you say. I'm gonna get on my knees and pray. I'm gonna wait right here for Jesus till he comes. He's my Would you be free from your burden of sin? There's power in the blood, power in the blood. Would your evil a victory win? There's wonderful power in the blood. There is power, power, wonder-working power in the blood of the Lamb. There is power, power, wonder-working power in the precious blood of the Lamb. Would you be free from your passion and pride? There's power in the blood, power in the blood. Come for a cleansing at Calvary's tide. There's wonderful power in the blood. There is power, power, wonder-working power in the blood of the Lamb. There is power, power, wonder-working power in the precious blood of the Lamb. Would you be whiter, much whiter than snow? There's power in the blood, power in the blood. Sin stains our life in a life-giving glow. There's wonderful power in the blood. There is power, power, wonder-working power in the blood of the Lamb. There is power, power, wonder-working power in the precious blood of the Lamb. Would you do service for Jesus, your King? There's power in the blood, power in the blood. Would you live daily his praises to sing? There's wonderful power in the blood. There is power, power, wonder-working power in the blood of the Lamb. There is power, power, wonder-working power in the precious blood of the
All right, good job, guys. So now we're going to talk about some of the families that attend our church that have gone to Bethany Camp. They answered some questions for me. So the first person we're going to talk about is Aria. Aria's attended camp for 2 years. The first time she went to family winter retreat, then this summer she attended a youth camp. Aria said that what she looks forward to most is getting to hang out with friends, but also the fact that she gets to meet new people. One of Bethany Camp's influences of her life is that it's helped her build a relationship with God. It has given her a fun way to learn and connect with the stories and grow. Her favorite message is that she learned in chapel is about Elijah. Elijah was a prophet of God who lived during a time when the people of Israel were worshiping false gods. Elijah confronted the people, telling them they needed to repent and turn back from God. Elijah then challenged the prophets of the false gods to a contest on Mount Carmel. The prophets of the false gods failed. Elijah emerged victorious. This led to a revival among the people of Israel, and they turned back from God. However, Elijah's success angered the queen, Jezebel, who sought and killed him. Elijah fled for his life and eventually came to Mount Oreb, where he met with God. After this encounter, Elijah was taken up into heaven in a whirlwind. In addition to these lessons that she's learned, she enjoys activities. Her favorite was the night activity of Capture the Flag. Her most impactful memory will always be the bond she made with the counselors who taught her all of these lessons and built a relationship with her. The next person is Brian. Brian has been attending Bethany Camp since 2019. One of his favorite parts and what's most important is the time he gets to spend with others, the fellowship and learning and growing. He loves to do things for others. At any point of the week, you can see Brian coming out of the bistro with tons and tons of snacks, which aren't for him, they're for everyone else. He loves to play four-way volleyball, but he also loves that if he's having a bad day, there's always a staff member that comes along and says hello and will start a conversation with him that pulls him out of that mood. It's just a really great, totally awesome atmosphere, as Brian says. The next person we're going to share is Cameron. Cameron has been attending camp for about 5 years. He's gone to family camp and youth camp. One of his favorite things about Bethany Camp is getting to hang out in Strawberry Field, playing carpet ball, 9-square, basketball, ping pong, and volleyball with all the different people that are there. His first year of kids camp was one of the most memorable messages that he was ever taught. The speaker's name was Aaron. He's a teacher out in the Buffalo area, and he taught them about the gospel meaning good news, and he covered 7 good things to do. This message really stuck with Cameron, and he still carries it with him today. When at camp, it is really important to Cameron that he gets to spend time with his family and friends. He loves getting to go and play night games like Eagle Eye or Blacklight Dodgeball. He loves just being able to sit on the porch and play little activities and card games, either with his sisters or other boys. That time together really is special to Cameron because they're all focused on each other and building their relationships. Zoe is next. Zoe has also been attending Bethany Camp for 5 years. When we were talking about what the most important part about going to camp was to her, she said it was that she gets the opportunity to get closer to God. Camp has influenced her life throughout the years, she said. When she goes to camp, it challenges her to make her want to read the Bible every day and grow in the Lord. When at camp, Zoe attends chapel twice a day with the teens, and when I asked her what her favorite message was taught, she said Bathsheba. If you know it, you know it. I don't know it, and if you don't, you can go talk to her why it's so important, but she just giggled when I asked, so I think they did it as a skit, but we'll see. Zoe's favorite activity at camp is volleyball. She gets to play volleyball with her friends and family. Even if they're not always the winning team, they still go out there and get to have fun. They play games during the day and night, and they just have fun together. The most impactful memory Zoe has was the last day at chapel of 2021. The chapel stood out to her because the counselors took that chapel to share their own testimonies with the group. They explained to the children how life wasn't easy and we all make mistakes. They then shared how they pushed through the struggles they face every day, and they still could build a relationship with God and to be where they are now. When asked if she had anything else to share about camp, she just said that she loves it. She gets to go, and she has so much fun. At the same time, she gets to grow with her relationship with God, and all people should go to camp. Next is Andrea. Andrea has also been attending camp for 5 years. She attended family camp with her family and a second family camp with the Emkes. She's also been working at camp for 2 years. The first year she worked in kitchen as support staff, and the second year she was again support staff, but she also got her lifeguarding training through them. She likes to go because she gets to see her friends that are there that she doesn't normally get to see outside of camp. She also really loves getting to play volleyball with everyone there. Working there and attending, she's met a lot of people that have supported her and became really close friends, and even her boyfriend. One of which even drove a very far distance recently to bring them food from Chick-fil-A and watch one of their volleyball games. One of the biggest lessons she learned from working there is the idea of servant leadership, which is one of the camp's main missions. This idea of servant leadership has stuck with Andrea throughout the years. She loves to play volleyball and spend time with her friends. Other than servant leadership, the message that she learned that carries with her an impactful one applies to her life is that no matter who you are on staff or who you support staff or head director, no one is too big to do any job. No matter who you are, no job is too big or too small. She said it really hit home when she sees Greg out there doing the same thing the other support staff people would do. It made her feel good knowing that everyone was equal and respected there. Carrie is next. Carrie's been attending Bethany Camp for 5 years. The most important part of going to Bethany Camp for her is that it's a Christ-centered camp for her family and it's completely safe. They can all have fun with the activities and spend time hanging out together with friends in a carefree setting. She loves that the camp offers activities all through the day that she can be included with her kids. It really gives them time to do things together. Her favorite is usually 4-way volleyball game. One way the camp has influenced her life is that she can go back and look through her chapel notes, and it helps her build and grow her walk with Jesus. She said you learn so much in a week that when you take notes and go back and read through them and add to them by reading the Bible more, it really truly does feel like it's teaching you all over again. One of her favorite lessons taught at camp was one from last year. The pastor was speaking about the Lord's Prayer and broke it down section by section. They took it line by line and really looked at the meaning behind it. She said by doing this, it really helped her understand prayer all a little bit more. One of her fondest memories over the years was a few years back when her family and friends were all sitting around the campfire at the end of the day, and one of the counselors pulled out his guitar. They all started singing worship songs and just sitting there enjoying each other's times. It's something that just hit a little differently. She did want to share that everything there is pretty great. The food, the people, the atmosphere. And if you're not having fun, well, then you're probably not living your best life. The next person is Kathy. Kathy has attended Bethany Camp since 2012. The most important part about attending camp for her is being able to worship and fellowship with those at camp that truly devote their time to the Lord that He deserves. Throughout the year, Bethany Camp has had a great influence on her life. It has helped her set goals for the year and put different ways of thinking about things in areas of her life where she wants to grow and change. Although she enjoys the messages every year, like this year's one, Undefeated, a few years ago they had a theme of Unplugged, and that one really opened her mind and eyes to things in her life that she wanted to change. When at camp, she truly enjoys the activities with her kids and other families like Gopher Ball, but what she enjoys the most is fellowship around the fire, telling stories, and just having great conversation. She likes that at camp, it gives her the opportunity to get away from the normal routines, everyday pulls, and just gives her time to think about her family and God. You can unwind there. It's a safe place surrounded by people that don't judge and let you be you. She said that everyone there is there to fellowship, worship, and share the love of God. Michael has also been attending camp since 2012. The most important part of camp for him is making friends and learning about God. Bethany Camp taught Michael many things, but one way it has really influenced his life is that it taught him not to doubt God's work. His favorite lesson from camp is Jonah and the fish. This is just one of the stories that Michael was taught while attending chapel at camp. Other than chapel time with friends, he loves playing soccer and Gopher Ball. Out of all the things mentioned, one thing that is most impactful thing on Michael is the fact that after years of attending camp with his mom, the Emke family finally came and joined them, and he could share this important part of his life with them. So the last group of people we're going to talk about are the Emkes. Xavier, or those that shared it with me, Caitlin and Haley. Xavier started going to Bethany Camp 5 years ago. It's really important to him that he gets to go there and play. It's important for his parents to know that it is in a safe environment that he's able to go and be there with people and free and safe. One of his favorite things to do is play octoball. He says Bethany Camp has really influenced his life in a good way. One of the messages that truly has stayed with him is the message they taught about Jacob in chapel. Next is Liz. Liz said that she's been going to family camp for about 5 years. She loves the fact that when she's there, she can just unplug and be there with her family and friends that they've met. The kids come and go, hanging with family and being with friends, but she always knows they are safe. Being able to have this time just to relax and not think about all the other things there is to do is very important to live. For you, if you know Liz, you know she doesn't sit down. But at camp, one of her favorite things to do is to sit around the fire, tell stories, talk to friends, fellowship, and eat popcorn, of course. She said that one of the messages she heard at camp, called "Don't Let the One Steal from My Mission," is one that always stays with her. When talking about camp, she said that the environment there is almost not even real. You can wake up in the morning and everyone's always so kind and smiling, inviting, and stays that way all the way until you go to bed. Next is Pastor Josh. Josh is very active at camp and goes out there. He likes to play all the different games, but one of his favorites is mushball. It's super important at camp that he can recharge and be fed by the people and the messages there. One message that really sticks with him is the same as Liz's. Don't let the one steal your focus, focusing on God's blessing, the favored king. Throughout the year, Bethany Camp has really influenced him. The idea of leadership through service is one that sticks with him. He noted how all the staff had this kingdom mindset and the joy it brings so many others. He said one of his most impactful memories is the friendships he has made at camp. At camp, he's really stepped out of his comfort zone, meeting new people and building amazing friendship. He loves that he has had the opportunity to build these friendships he's formed bonds with, these families he's met there. The last person is me. My story's a little bit longer because I'm going to truly tell you how camp has influenced my life and helped bring me to a place where I am now. I have to go back a little farther for my story. Some of you know this and some of you don't, but I was raised Catholic. I wouldn't change that for the world because I truly did love going to church, learning, and the influences I had in my life. I was taught to love God and Jesus above all else. I had an amazing community of people around me that were there really helping me stay passionate about learning about God. I taught Sunday school, served in many roles at the church, and was very involved. After our priest retired, we combined with another church in Westfield. I was in college, and my life was a bit crazy. One big thing was my parents went through a separation that ended up influencing me as an adult more than I ever imagined. I've looked back at my journals from the time and saw where at the beginning of it, I prayed and prayed, but because of my choices, I wasn't attending church as I should have and didn't go to the people I had in my life. I kind of hid from my family and friends because I didn't want to talk about what was going on. I did not trust God the way I needed to, and I didn't lean on him. Later in my journal writings, instead of being full of prayer and hope and light, I could see my hurt and frustration. There were still prayers, but the strength, the passion, and hope and trust were lacking. My cousins went to visit their cousins at Bethany Camp one year and ended up staying 3 nights. The next year, they got a cabin of their own and invited me to come see this place that was amazing. It wasn't far from me, and I would love it. I went up for a visit and visited during the day and decided this is what I needed. The next year, I booked a cabin right next to them. My mother worked full-time, and I knew she would not be able to come with me, so I thought about my cousin in Ohio, Ethan. He was in 5th grade, and I wanted him to have the opportunity to know Jesus. His sister found Jesus through a Christian camp that she attended with her church family in high school. So I called his parents and said, "Can I have your son for a week?" And during the summer, and off we went. The first year I attended, I loved the time with family and getting to see all the kids there and being with them. But I kept into my comfort zone. I stayed with our group of people. The other adults talked with other families, and we saw others, but my comfort was working with the kids and staying with them. Who'd imagine that? So I volunteered to watch all the kids, bring them to the playgrounds, and let the parents go and visit others. But during chapel time, that was my time, which I did attend twice a day, and the kids had their own time then. I got to spend that time learning. In one of the chapels that year, I remember they talked about getting back to the basics. It hit me hard. It hit me that through all that was going on in my life, I was not focused on the right things, and I really had to get back to those basics. I left camp that year and decided that was what I was going to do, one step at a time, back to prayer. I started journaling again and making my focus on prayer and prayer for others. A couple years in, I had Carrie and the kids coming. Ethan was still attending, and I knew that reading my Bible, doing devotions and journaling, and giving God the time he deserves is exactly what I needed to get my life back on track. I started attending PCC on a regular basis. I had a church family again. They helped feed my relationship with the Lord. Growing up, I came to PCC for youth group and Sundays here and there. I knew Pastor Gordon and turned to him through different things in life. I knew Josh growing up and his family, but Josh is much older than me. So I was just a little kid running around the family picnics. I knew Carrie and knew her passion and how well she represented God's fruits. But this was a big change for me. But going to camp, hearing the messages, and really starting to talk to God and ask him to put me where I needed to be led me here to you all. Then I started to step out a little more and a little more each year at camp as well. Camp became something that was no longer a time I was going to be with just family. I was going because I needed the recharge, the refocus. I needed that time with people that took me out of the earthly world and took me out of the earthly world that put me into a bad place and stepped into the world that gave me the right messages and pulled me closer to God. Around that time, too, there was another lesson on forgiveness in one of our chapels. That one hit me hard again. It took me a while to accept that message. I needed to forgive the others in my life, for myself, and to move on, to be forgiven. I not only needed to forgive, but they also said I needed to take us the next step and pray for those that I forgave. That was not easy to hear because I'm a bit stubborn. I talked to friends and family there after a chapel, and we talked a lot about the messages in chapels and the answers to healing. I went home that year, and I truly did forgive. I did not forget, but I forgave, and my heart felt a bit lighter. I again was stubborn and refused to pray for them just yet. But when I was looking through my notes a few months later, the note was circled, underlined, starred. So that morning as I drove to work, I prayed for those that I forgave, and it felt really good. I will not say that every day I'm still good and pray for them, or things do not come up that are irritating, but I've gotten to the point where it doesn't hurt, and I don't let it change who I am. In those days, I try to pray again for those people. Without camp and people there and all of you, I wouldn't be where I am. I wouldn't be able to pray and forgive the way that I have. Without the people in this room, I don't know who I would be and what my relationship with the Lord would look like. Every year for 7 years, I've been going to family camp, meeting new people. Last year, I went to visit the Emkes and Sattels. 2 years ago, I went to visit the Emkes and Sattels for one night and ended up staying almost the whole week. So this year, I just decided to stay 2 weeks. One of my best friends I met there. He showed me where the hammock pods are, and from there, we talked around the fire, and we just became best friends. I've created friendships with staff and counselors, and we met up for coffee or dinner a few times a year. Bethany Camp is such an amazing place. It truly is like Liz said, it's unreal. You have a safe place to be you, express your beliefs without judgment or people attacking you. The people who work there put so much passion and love into it. And as Andrea said, no job is too big or too small for any of them. I love the involvement of their staff. They are a group of people that put countless hours in every single day, especially during the summer. So today was all about camp. I thank you guys for listening to me share all of this information and the stories that is so close to my heart. As you leave today, I ask that you place a love offering in the dish. This offering will go towards helping the kids at our church have the opportunities to attend camp during the year and have these experiences in a safe environment, an opportunity to meet other kids their age with similar beliefs and grow in God. I also want to let you know, if you're inspired by today's information and want to volunteer your time or get more information about how to help the camp itself, I can get you that information. But I ask each and every one of you, we are a praying church, and I ask you to pray. On their website, they said that while they appreciate all the financial gifts and volunteers, one of the most important things to them is prayer. Currently, they have 2 prayer requests. First is that the gas well. They've had 2 opportunities to get access to a natural gas that they need to keep the camp running. So please pray that the doors will remain open and that they can get taken care of the way that they need. Second is that they have broken ground on a new rec center. They have a long ways to go in funding and building of this new facility. So please pray that God's provision to complete the project. Again, I thank you for all your time about hearing about this important part of my life and many of yours.